I'm always moved by that song. I think it was probably, maybe a tradition that soldiers, when they went off to war, they would probably compose a letter that would be sent home to their family in case they died. So for this Memorial Day weekend, tomorrow is Memorial Day, I always like to just really, let's focus on remembering the incredible benefits that we've had in our life because of people who have sacrificed before us. So let's start with this from the New Testament. You saw it in the video. There's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. In the military, there's actually the tradition, the expression, that everyone gave something of themselves to defend their country, and some people gave everything, meaning they gave even their life. So for Memorial Day, remembering and honoring those who sacrificed their lives for the sake of their country. Actually, the history of Memorial Day, in America anyway, it began after the Civil War. And it was called Decoration Day. And families would go out to the gravestones of soldiers and decorate their gravestone and their grave site and remember and honor and value them. In 1967, they renamed it from Decoration Day to Memorial Day. And in 2000, they began encouraging everyone in America to take a moment of remembrance at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. You can set your watch or set your phone to go off and just take a moment, in the middle of our barbecues and shopping all the Memorial Day specials and all the activities that go on for Memorial Day, to really pause and remember and offer gratitude and thanks for those. Other countries also have similar Memorial Days. In Britain and Canada, it's called Remembrance Day. In France, it's Armistice Day. In New Zealand and Australia, it's Anzac Day. But here's some of the numbers just to remember and reflect on. And the additionally painful thing to realize here is that most of these soldiers are young people, particularly young men. In the American Civil War, over 600,000 deaths. And, today that doesn't sound like that much, but that was almost 3% of the population of the United States at that time. So both North and South deaths. So if you turn it into today's terms, it would be like 7 million people had died. And then in the First World War, over 8 million deaths. That's for 8 different countries, all the countries. Turkey, Germany, Russians, French, Austro-Hungary, Bulgaria, and the United States. In World War II, over 23 million deaths. In 7 countries. The Soviet Union, Germany, China, Japan, Yugoslavia, the United States, and Great Britain. And in the Korean War, over 800,000 deaths. That's North Korean, South Korean, as well as American and the United Nations forces. And Vietnam, at least from the American side, 58,000 Americans. And in Afghanistan and Iraq, 9,000 American and coalition forces. War is a horrible thing. It's so tragic and so painful that there is war in the world. And sometimes the question, and even Christianity has struggled with this question, is there such a thing as a just war? Is it ever just to fight a war, killing others? Back in almost a little bit more than 400 years after Jesus' birth and death, St. Augustine He wrote City of God, and he wrote a lot and reflected on this. And he's still considered like the authority in Christian tradition that says, really, if you try to stay peaceful, and stay to yourself in the face of evil and wrong being done around you, that itself is actually a sin. And getting up, especially if we're in a position where we could get up and we could stop that by using violence ourselves. And also to defend ourselves or any others, against aggression. This is what St. Augustine called, and traditionally we considered, this is a just war. And the unification teachings, the unification principle, this is from the chapter on the second advent of the Messiah. Let me read. A fundamental nature of Satan is to aggressively encroach upon others. Basically, Satan is the attacker. God's strategy is to claim victory after his side has been attacked first. Although countless prophets and saints have been sacrificed in the course of history, and even Jesus died on the cross, time and again God claimed victory in the end. Although Satan's side was the aggressor in the First and Second World Wars, in the end victory was won by the nations on God's side. So, for me, there's just a fundamental principle that God does not attack first. God is the defender. God defends. So when thinking about, is the nation in the right or in the wrong in the war, really, for me, it's who started it, who attacked first. So in American history, generally we've been on the defenders. But one stain that hurts my heart is the attack on Iraq. It was a preemptive strike. The president at the time thought, Saddam Hussein is going to, all these weapons, and he's going to attack. And so we'll strike first. And the consequences of that actually were very destructive in the long run. We've seen even the whole mobilization of Islam against the United States. America became the great enemy because we attacked first. So here's also a quote from Ronald Reagan. He's got lots of quotes like you saw in that video, but he really speaks well on this issue. So this is actually before he ever became president of the United States. In his speech he says, "Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, right? We all want peace. But there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace. You can have it in the next second. Surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than surrendering. But every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement, giving in. Appeasement offers no choice between peace and war, only between fighting and surrendering. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. So, we don't want to give in to bullies. We could give up and just let them, do their evil. But God's called us to more than that. God's called us to stop evil. And not be bullies, right? But to stand up for what's needed. So when I think about Memorial Day, and especially as unificationists looking at the big picture on things, the whole purpose of God's work through history has been to bring a world of true peace and true love. And, when we talk about the ideal, we talk about in the family, right? Our first purpose in life is to grow up, to know God, to experience God in our whole being, and become reflections of God. And then on that foundation, establish a family, and in the family, experience the different realms of heart and love, and then have a dominion over all the things of the creation. Make beautiful and amazing things with all the things of creation. And we know that that's not the world we're living in. I know myself, I continue to struggle with my unity between my mind and body and always having my heart and mind centered on God. It's a constant daily challenge. And also our families, they're not what God wanted. They're not what God intended. But we know His ideal, God's ideal for us. And gratefully we know that God has never given up on us. Never given up on us. That God always invested. Even how difficult the circumstances are, God's providence at work throughout history has been to restore that original ideal world of true love. And a lot of times that meant dividing and dealing with the conflicts and wars that have happened throughout history. But the purpose is ultimately to bring about reconciliation, peace, and healing. So when we think about that ideal world, one of my favorite of the 8 family pledges is pledge number 2, right? That starts off as the owner of Chonoguk, right? Is the one responsible for the heavenly kingdom, right? Our family pledges to perfect the dutiful family way. So thinking about everything in terms of family dynamics and relationships. The family way of filial piety in our family, which means loyalty and respect and love towards our parents and our elders. Patriots in our nation, right? Patriotism. Saints in the world, living for the whole world, not just my country, but for the world. And ultimately, divine sons and daughters in heaven and earth, where we really are God's reflections in the world and impacting the world around us. And all of that we accomplish. What's that last line say? It's by centering on true love. Yes, absolutely. So God's whole purpose, and even when we see wars and conflicts, they're all the long-term goal for restoring God's world of true love and true peace. So if we just let the evil dominate, then we're not building God's kingdom. So we need to stand up and be responsible. So historically, Memorial Day, it's so important that we honor and are grateful for the sacrifices of history. The patriots in the nation, the saints in the world. That's why we sang this song. We used to sing this song in workshop. It was like for all the saints who from their labors rest, and we're marching on to war, right? And the words, there's 11 verses to this song. We only sang a few. But there's 11 verses that go on and on. And it was, even though it was written by the Church of England, it was adopted because it's such a powerful testimony, especially during All Saints' Day or All Hallows' Eve, Halloween time, when we're remembering those saints of past. So, there's lines, for all the saints who from their labors rest. That's how it starts off. All those saints who've already gone to the spiritual world, who've died, who proclaimed God and blessed God's name and shared it with the world. God was their strength, God was their leader, and God was their one true light. And when the fight was fierce, right, and then when we sing the song, we'd go, oh, so what? And the fight is fierce, so what? They found strength and courage to persevere no matter what. So many people have laid down their lives and made a foundation that we inherit, that we stand on. So honoring those sacrifices of history. And it happens, especially, I want to expand Memorial Day. Of course, it's focused on those who died in war, protecting the nation and fighting. but we have so many that have gone before us who have sacrificed that we have benefited from. At the family level, at the societal level, and the level of the nation, of course, through wars, and even at the world level. So for us to be grateful and honor and memorialize our ancestors, recognizing, even the fact that we could be here right now, we inherit so much benefit. Those of us who live in America now, especially those who were born in America, our ancestors immigrated here, almost all of us. Because of our ancestors, we could be here. And those of us who have moved here, your descendants will be grateful to you because you moved to America. And in society, we have so many martyrs, people who stood up in righteousness for the sake of bringing about change and reform in society. Reverend Martin Luther King is one, reminds me of that. And then at the national level, the patriots who willingly sacrificed their lives to protect those people of their country. And then ultimately the world, the saints of all of the world's religions who transformed people's lives beyond the nation. Christianity isn't just one nation. The Islam, Judaism, they go beyond national borders to reach all people in all times. So let's honor those sacrifices that were made, that we benefit from, to be grateful for. And finally, if we really want to honor those people who have sacrificed, let's take up their task. God's calling us at this time to take responsibility, to bring healing and change to this world. As we study in the Unification teachings, we remember how God worked through the Old Testament and the Jewish people to raise up and lay the foundation for Jesus to come 2,000 years ago. And then Jesus sacrificing everything to lay the foundation so that the 2,000 years of Christian history that we know, the New Testament age, where he was building the foundation till finally, in our age, in our time, Jesus could call true Father as the second coming to pick up the mantle of the Messiah. And God could also raise up our Mother Moon, true Mother, as the only begotten daughter. And together they could establish true parents. That God had longed for from the Garden of Eden, to have Adam and Eve, a true Adam and a true Eve here on earth. And even in our own course, from 1960 to 2013 is kind of our wilderness period. We went through the time when we were focused at an individual level. We had Children's Pledge. I will go forward and fight. And then we graduated to the family level. My family. And then expanded that to being home church and tribal messiahs. We should be thinking not just about our own family, but about our tribe and our community, making a difference. And with the coming of Foundation Day in 2013, true parents could proclaim the establishment of the era of the Heavenly Kingdom of Chonoguk. And so now we're facing new challenges. No longer are we fighting against the destroy. Satan's still around, still bothering us. But now is really the time for us to build. It's the age of building. And so even our understanding we had the Old Testament understanding, which contributed to our New Testament understanding. We have the understanding we had from the divine principle during the wilderness course that helped us make it through and lay the foundation. So now we're into the age of settlement and building God's heavenly kingdom. And Mother Moon, as the only begotten daughter, is the one that's leading the way from the physical world, and Father Moon is the only begotten Son in the spiritual world. So, as we really want to honor and give honor to those who have sacrificed and gone before us, and taking up that task, the first thing is we've always got to remember God is our partner. God is our loving parent, and we are God's children. When we forget that, we get confused, we get off course, we forget who we are. And we forget that God is always with us, always our partner. And also that God designed us to be partners, which means God needs us to take responsibility. God needs us as partners to solve the problems of the world, starting with our own lives. Their own lives are filled with restoration and healing. But that shouldn't stop with us. It should expand to helping others and expanding that foundation to the whole world. So we stand on the incredible foundation of the people who went before us. So let's take their foundation. Be grateful for all the blessings that they passed on to us. Especially in America, we can be so grateful for this nation that we have. For the many countries that were liberated from oppression and dictators and persecution and evil because of the people who were willing to sacrifice their lives. So much for us to be grateful for. So let's generate goodness and value and healing in the world. So let me close with this from our two parents. Each of you needs to know clearly that you sprang from past ages and that you are called to build the future. Also, countless saints and sages shed their blood to bring you where you are today. And they are working even now, behind the scenes, hoping you will increasingly develop this consciousness. We inherit from our lineage, from the martyrs of society, from the patriots of the nation, and the world-level saints. We've inherited so much blessing. Let's really bear a good fruit. Please join me in prayer. Father, Mother God, our loving Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for your love, for your guidance, for your continued investment and commitment to bringing healing in this world. And tomorrow, together with others around this nation of America, we'll be remembering all those who sacrificed and gave their lives in the defense of this nation, and in the hopes that this nation could truly be a light, a shining beacon to the world. That we could, as Americans, that this nation could be a blessing to the world and bring healing that you long to see. Heavenly Parent, we pray that we can especially reflect on not just those patriots and the saints of history, but also even our own lineage and ancestry, that all the things that have brought us to this point, and even those early pioneers of movement in your providence and their sacrifices, that we can always be so grateful and remember and honor those who have gone before us. So we thank you, Heavenly Parent, and offer up ourselves again gratefully to you as your sons and daughters and as blessed central families. Amen and adieu.